Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. We're to another episode of James Bond Bitcoin Live, episode 0065, hashtag tongue. Let me put full screen on that for you. Today I have Brian here as a guest. Say hello, Brian.
Howdy, everybody.
Brian's our permanent guest. Anyways, in the notes section, I have several things here. I have a link to an article, ATM operator BitcoinPlug considers core an attack against Bitcoin. There's a link for that, as well as ShapeShift, now one of the leading SegWit adopters. And we'll get into these different subjects as we go along. And then a public service announcement. I don't know how old that public service announcement is, but it's another one where it talks about core being an attack on Bitcoin. Do you know how old that is, Brian?
No, actually, I'm uncertain. I just went to go check out this node counter site, and when I got to the site, this announcement. So I thought I would document it and send it to you. And I found it interesting the way they framed the argument, but I don't have the date on it.
Okay, it seems pretty recent. They talk about Bitcoin Cash, so it must be at least within the last a month or 2 months.
Well, and again, it was a pop-up that came when I went to nodecounter.com. So it's currently what they show everyone who goes to their site.
Okay, and then within that specific public service announcement, there's a link to a Medium post, which is a year old, but it's titled "A Brief and Incomplete History of Censorship in Our Bitcoin." I guess we'll talk about that a little bit. I didn't read the full article, but I think we could just in general talk about it. So let's go over the meme here first of all, and let's see who's okay. So let's go talk about the meme here. Hard forking is cool. Hashtag yes2x. Hashtag yes2x. And hashtag yes2x. I figure if it's done 3 times, it means something. But this is in regards to splitting and having your tongue split. That's kind of new. Is that a new fad, Brian?
I don't know how new it is, but I think I've heard of it as far back as maybe at least 10 years.
10 years, okay. It
8
seems
years.
it seems like this is a new trend where everybody's into the hard forking and splitting, that they'll even split their tongues, and and this is quite a process. Like, I can understand, like, maybe if you want to be rebellious, you could have like your ears pierced, your tongue pierced, maybe your nose pierced, maybe a tattoo here and there. But having your tongue split, that's quite it looks like a very painful experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
Well, let me talk about memes for a little bit, since we're on the subject, before we get into the other various subjects. Now, I've been doing some research into, I guess we're calling it memeology. And did you know, Brian, that the word meme actually was invented by, I think it was Richard Dawkins?
No, I did not.
And he coined that word, or made that word, back in the 70s. And you know, out of my curiosity of making memes, I wanted to research memes and understand where it came from. And it's basically the word is meant to, how can I say, it's an idea that spreads from one being to another being, and it spreads like a virus. Sometimes it's just an idea that's passed on to one. If it was a person, one person to another person. And that's what he was trying to say. That's his definition of a meme. Is he called it natural selection. In other words, an idea comes out, and then that is passed on to one person, and then those people pass on to other people, and it spreads like that. And so I thought that was kind of interesting that this meme, which I thought was a recent phenomenon, was really something that was done a long time ago, and it's just maybe something that was picked up over the internet.
Well, I was unaware that it started that far back and that it had its roots in biologist as opposed to the computer roots.
Yeah, like.
But
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Brian.
oh no, it's like memetics itself was in the 90s. It's a different form, the field of study exploring the transmission of those memes.
Interesting, interesting. And so as I did more research in it, and a lot of the modern meme, it's hilarious when you study these the history of meme, but a lot of these modern memes did come from the internet, through the spread of forums and Usenets and bulletin boards and such. And I'm playing around with them. I kind of use, when I first started this, I used the just a picture and some text on the front and top and the bottom, and then I started incorporating some QR codes to make it fun for the treasure hunt. Then I figured out the QR codes, you could link them to a website or even have text to them. There's a lot you can actually do with the QR code other than Bitcoin. You can embed SMS message that you could, when they scan it, a text message with whatever text you want to put in there can be, or you could set up a text message to have it sent to you so that someone scanned it, and maybe even why they scanned it. You could set it up with a certain text, and or you could actually set up your email address in there and have someone email you. You can do very interesting things with QR codes. So I wanted to ask you, Brian, I mean, you've probably been watching my channel. What do you think about my evolution of the meme? Is it evolving in some sense? Because I am having fun playing with it.
It is evolving, and you are finding more and more ways to embed information within this image. And that's the goal, right? So you're maximizing technology to embed more and more into your meme.
Yeah, and not only am I doing that, but I'm incorporating some stenography as well. So you can actually, there's even more information hidden within the picture itself. And then I'm embedding more into the QR codes. And of course, the picture, the text. I'm really maximizing this thing. Would you say I'm weaponizing memes now?
Let's see. Kind of. Disseminating information and trying to influence processes, and that is part of memetic warfare, right?
Yes.
But that seems to be more of a passive, and hear me out, while you are doing things and spreading information, it's a passive form of war. I think memetic warfare in its aggressive form would be sharing different type of information than maybe what you're revealing here, as in plans and things like communiques, if you would.
Right. I'm just right now having fun with it. But if you could change the message, and you can, I guess, if you really want to make it a warfare type of memetic warfare, I mean, you can actually instruct others to actually do things and embed a lot more information into it. You can give them directions, you can give them targets, you can give them hidden names and information. I don't know if I'll go that far with it, I mean, it's possible, but you know, the fact that I'm impacting or compacting a lot of information onto this picture, if I can call it, or this meme, I mean, it's definitely interesting to think that it can be weaponized, or I'm sort of weaponizing it, but I'm playing around with it. It is passive. It's not quite aggressive yet, but you know, you can't make it aggressive. You could tell, you know, you can convey someone to be targeted, or you can convey a time and a place, or a website to be targeted, or a movement to be targeted. So I guess you can say that. Mine's a light form of it. I'm obviously making fun of the hashtag yes2x and hard forking in a passive way, but you know, I don't want to turn people off, you know, and become a target myself by becoming aggressive.
Well, absolutely not. And that was only to ask if you were weaponizing it. You are using its capacities that would be used in a weaponized way very well. You know, you're fully utilizing the capability of a meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm not saying you should weaponize it. I'm just saying it's not weaponized. It is. Let's see. You've built all the artillery, the torrents, everything that could be set up to fire off, but they're just shooting information as opposed to live rounds, so to speak.
Yeah, I haven't killed anybody yet with it. So
Right.
I'm practicing with it. I'm shooting it with it. It's almost like having a gun, but you haven't killed anybody yet. So that's pretty much what I've done. And so this idea of a meme, I mean, I really am having fun. I'm getting a better understanding of the impacts of a meme. And other than just being funny and for laughs and lulls and everything, I could see this being very impactful if to certain people, if they know how to use its capabilities, to very similar to the way I have. I mean, embedding media, video, pointing to a website, even making contact with someone. You can actually create a meme. If people like it, they may be able to scan and contact you and join the movement. You know, so other than just putting out on the internet and just letting it just flop around and just being spread as through email as a funny joke, this could really recruit a lot of people in your movement.
Sure. That's the power that a meme has today, that the digital world offers it. It has the power to travel around everywhere, and it keeps all that data in it. And you have the opportunity to reach more people than ever before.
Right. But I made my meme a little more interactive. I mean, other than just looking at it and laughing at it, and maybe posting it on a website which draws people to it, you can actually interact with it, and potentially, if you set it up the right way, you can make contact with the creator of this meme or the movement itself through a meme. If that's the process of how people wish to communicate or disseminate information these days over the internet. So
Sure. And like you said, the different ways to hide information or to convey information through a meme can be used for a myriad of purposes, right? All those purposes that you've described. Fortunately, you haven't fully weaponized it yet.
nope, no, not yet. Still playing around, experimenting. So let me go on to the subject at hand now that we've talked about this meaner. All right, so here's the first article here. It is ATM operator BitcoinPlug considers core Bitcoin. Have you had a chance to look at this? Oh, I got all these. I get an ad blocker, but I'm just too cheap.
Yeah, I looked at this some, and it kind of boggled my mind. And let me see if I've got the gist of it here. Are they saying that the Bitcoin developers, the ones who have been the stewards of Bitcoin up until this point, are actually terrorists attacking the real Bitcoin, which is yet to be named, which is not Bitcoin Core? Is that what they're saying here?
It seems like it. It seems like CoinPlug is accusing Bitcoin Core developers of attacking Bitcoin, and I don't know what they mean by that. I've never used CoinPlug. I've just seen this article, but there's always been accusations that Bitcoin Core is the problem, and I've heard it from watching a video Jeff Garzak presented. I've also heard it in forums. I've also heard it from Roger Ver. And I've heard it from other people who are against, I guess, keeping the block size, quote unquote, the scaling block size at 1 megabyte, claiming that core is the reason for the schism or the schism that's going on in this community. Now, I'm beginning to understand more and more of why people may think that way as an open software development or through an open software community. I think if my thinking is right, and if there's anybody out there who is against core and they see this video, leave a comment, explain your situation. But it seems like a lot of people feel that core, the core development team, has too much development control, and whatever they put out, the rest of the community have no choice other than to accept. So whenever they roll out an update, the rest of the community, the miners, the businesses, the nodes, the users, although users don't do much other than just use, and what they just use whatever's available. I guess it comes down to miners and businesses feel like they're being told or limited on what's being developed versus which I think the people who are against core, they feel that they should have a say in the development and what should be in the code, what should be implemented, the things that they want implemented. And I think that's where the rift really has been the last, I would say, 4 years. I think these miners and these businesses have been wanting something out of core, which they don't feel safe to do, or they don't feel compelled to do. And I think that's really been the issue here.
And that thing has been a larger block size, right?
Well, I guess it's been a larger block size for capacity issues. But we talked about that last week, how increasing the block size doesn't really solve anything.
Right.
And I
but
think
that's what their
that's
cry
where
is for. Whether it's right or wrong, that's what they're crying for, correct?
Yeah, that's what they're crying for. And I think the core developers have been trying to say that it doesn't do anything, so we're not going to do it. You know, it's not a very good solution, and it's very risky, so we're not going to do it because it requires a hard fork. Or they've been asking for a hard fork to increase the block size. And I think if I'm right, in order to increase the block size, you have to have a hard fork. But the other thing I think is a reason is if they increase the block size, that gives a chance to implement or have other developers become the developers of Bitcoin. Have another team become the developers. And I think maybe people feel that the core developers don't want to be displaced. They want to stay the main developing team. So to ensure that, the block size must remain the way it is, because if they do that, you'll never have a chance to do a hard fork. And if you never have a chance to do a hard fork, you'll never have a chance to replace the development team. And I think that's why people want a block size increase as a hard fork, not as a soft fork.
I see. So a hard fork, you have a chance for all these new developers to hop on this new chain and basically run it and not have to worry about the old developers any longer and any further issues. And of course, these developers would all be picked, I guess, by the SegWit 2Xers who are pushing the whole thing. Maybe BitcoinPlug gets a vote about who will be one, since they came out and said this.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I mean, that's what I'm starting to see, and that's what I'm starting to realize. Like, this is kind of really about who wants to control the development of Bitcoin. Now, I'm not a developer. I don't know how open software project works, but it seems to be that, you know, whoever is in control now of the development, well, they have a say in what goes into the code and what doesn't, what gets updated and what does. And so for people who don't like that, they feel like they're being told what to do, that this is constricting development. And so I think this is why BitcoinPlug, this is their point of view, that's why they think Core is attacking Bitcoin. I know the article is really short. It doesn't say too much, but I'm really reading into it.
Yeah, it's what it seems to say as well, and that's what I read into it. In their tweet, it just straight up says, "We support Bitcoin Cash. We support hashtag SegWit2X. We do not support Bitcoin Core, but instead view it as an attack against Bitcoin." So, you know, they consider SegWit2X and Bitcoin Cash more legitimate than the legacy chain.
Yeah, I think they described it as following Satoshi's vision and stuff like that.
Yeah, they see the increased block size as part of his agenda. And you've studied the paper. Does that make sense to you?
Well, you know, I tried to read the paper when I first got involved, and I didn't understand it. And I kept reading it over and over again as time went on, as I hear more about this whole scaling debate. And I started doing more research, and I began to understand a little bit more. I don't understand the technical, like the math part and why this and that, and miners and the middle portions of the white paper. I don't quite understand all of that, but I'm beginning to understand it. And, you know, I'm not an expert in this. Okay, I've only been involved in 2013. But I do have to admit, a lot can change from the time Satoshi Nakamoto left the project to today. And a lot has changed. The people involved have changed. The community has changed. And the situation has changed. And not only that, but the price has changed a lot. So it becomes, you know, the value of this network has increased, I would say 100%, maybe even 1,000% since Satoshi Nakamoto left the project. And so, you know, it changes things. And the people involved and the players involved, they've all changed too. I've actually seen them change over time. Their stance on Bitcoin, their stance on the block size. I would say it's become more divided than ever. And this SegWit2X is evidence of that.
I think we're gonna see. We knew we were gonna see increased chatter about this as we get closer. But it's unfortunate that most of the Yes2X supporters have a lot of money and a lot of stake in what's happening. So they're going to have a very a much stronger presence in the information war leading up to this. That's why everybody's got to spread your memes around, right?
Very good. Yes, yes. You know, I think, even though I don't get a lot of views, I think people do watch my videos. Obviously, I get some views. And as I watch other videos, I think that I'm getting some responses in some way, because people are more talking. People are talking about it a little bit more. I know Hiroja, Shibe. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong, but she's made some live streams about this and making her own memes. And maybe one day I could have her on as a guest. And I didn't realize she has a channel of her own, and she does a podcast where she talks about Bitcoin. If anybody and everybody has a chance, please go to her channel and subscribe to her. Her information's in the notes section. And so one day maybe we can have her on the show and we could have a chat together, all three of us, you, me, and Brian, and everyone. So this is a little plug-in for the Pot of Gold. Still there. It will still continue. On the left side is the donation. On the bottom is a link to Yellow Fever for You, who gave me the idea. And on the right side is the QR. It's a encrypted private key. If you can crack it, that's fine. I won't give any clues. I know people have been asking for clues. Well, the point is, if you want some clues, you have to donate, or someone has to donate. So if anybody wants to donate, go ahead. I'll give a clue, and we'll get this ball rolling. All right, so next one is ShapeShift. ShapeShift, now one of the leading SegWit adopters. Isn't this interesting? This is like a 180 from where we were last week.
Muted. In what way?
Brian?
Yeah, I'm here. In what way?
Well, we were just talking about, well, not we, I guess, or did we? I know I was talking about ShapeShift. No, it was last week. We're talking about ShapeShift, about being a SegWit, the whole prison thing.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about how he's a supporter of the New York agreement, and how he has kind of flipped from 2013 being a sort of Bitcoin maximalist. Now he's more open to altcoins, and he built his business model on that as well, trading altcoins and aligning himself with the big blockers, what I would call the big blockers. And then all of a sudden, after doing that live stream, his company announces that they're going to now adopt SegWit into ShapeShift. And I've noticed, or I've been watching, or other people talk about how now SegWit address is increasing. It's increasing by 10% of the transactions.
I haven't seen that, but if ShapeShift is using it, then people are going to start using that function. I mean, there are people out there with SegWit addresses using it, and if now they can ShapeShift into other things from their SegWit addresses, they will. So they have a decent chunk, little niche of the transactions market anyway, like 10% or something like that, right? Of overall transactions.
Well, it's I don't know of their overall trends. Is it for Bitcoin or for all the coins that they have?
I thought it was for Bitcoin. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, I'm not too sure about their transactions. I've heard that they I think it's actually in here what they were saying. Let me see if we could find it. Okay. It says here, ShapeShift is currently responsible for 2 to 3% of all Bitcoin transactions on Earth. Is right here on this paragraph, as I highlighted.
There we go. 2 to 3%.
So it was, I think, I think I've been reading reports where it's been like 4%, 5% SegWit transactions, and then all of a sudden, as soon as ShapeShift started adopting SegWit or implemented SegWit in their, I guess their platform, now I'm hearing reports of up to 9%, almost 10% transactions are done with SegWit addresses.
Well,
Now,
you
what do you
know,
think? Is that BS or is that hype? Or is
I
that real?
think it's possible. Now remember, ShapeShift got KeepKey, and I know KeepKey has real easy SegWit, smooth SegWit transactions because somebody swiped some Bitcoin from the treasure hunt from me with their KeepKey real easily. He said it was smooth and easy for him. So if they're now, because ShapeShift is available on your KeepKey, right? So now if everything's going through SegWit and available SegWit, all of the KeepKey users are using it more right off the bat. So that gives you more people.
Yeah, I've there's a lot of wallets that integrate ShapeShift because that's another way for them to generate revenue. I wonder if these other wallets will now implement SegWit addresses on their wallets because ShapeShift has now implemented. So if that trend that trend continues, I could definitely see wallets now implement SegWit. I find it interesting that ShapeShift would do that. Do you think the industry is turning? You think they're capitulating on the SegWit 2x?
Well, okay. When they say that they're adopting SegWit, that doesn't necessarily mean 2x, right? It just means that they fully implemented segregated witness, not necessarily right about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's uh, they're implementing SegWit, which is what happened. I think it was implemented 2-3 weeks ago or something like that. Was it August 1st? Was it August 1st? I'm not sure.
Yeah, we were on with digital gold.
Right. So now it took them a while. You think this was coming, like everyone saw this coming, but why now as we get closer to November with the SegWit 2x hard fork coming up? So are they taking both? What I'm trying to say is, are these businesses, these economic facilitators, are they starting to capitulate on their stance on their New York agreement? Because Coinbase also came out and are going to support both coins. And there was a fear that, Coinbase, all these people who were signers of the New York agreement, that they will only support SegWit 2x coins.
Well, listen, the signers of the New York agreement have already met two of the bullet points of the agreement, and that was do a hard fork and increase the block size, and they accomplished that, right?
Well, they haven't done a hard fork yet.
What was Bitcoin Cash?
Oh, okay. If you consider that a hard fork, then maybe, yeah.
Was it? I mean, was it a hard fork with replay protection? Was that not what it was? Am I mistaken?
Yeah, you got a point. So was that the agreement that they would all agree to do a hard fork and implement SegWit?
That's it.
And so,
Implement a hard fork that increased the block size and implement SegWit. So as long as these companies implement SegWit and accept Bitcoin Cash, then they fulfilled the New York agreement. My problem is they're not, if they accept 2x, they're not fulfilling the part of agreement that says they would develop in a safe manner for the space.
Okay. So you're saying basically they've already fulfilled their obligation because of Bitcoin Cash and SegWit being implemented. And okay. So what about this New York agreement? You think it's going to go then? You think that's the reason why they're I think they're I would see this as a way of changing their stance slightly before the schedule, the planned hard fork in November.
Well, no. If they agreed to the New York agreement, then adopting SegWit was one of the tenets. And if they're doing that, then they're sticking to the agreement. It depends on
Well, you
what.
know,
Go ahead.
I don't know if the Bitcoin Cash was a part of the deal, because in the agreement they agreed that they would hard fork to 2 megabytes within 6 months. I guess maybe they did, but my understanding was Bitcoin Cash wasn't really a part of the deal. If anything, Bitcoin Cash was the deal breaker for the New York agreement.
Hey, James.
Yes.
I wouldn't call that the deal breaker. I'd say that was the deal sealer.
All right, so that's I never thought of it that way, Brian. Thanks for bringing that up. So maybe there will never be a SegWit 2x hard fork.
Well, if they don't agree to it, they're not out of line with what they made an agreement in New York. It
Okay.
could be argued that now they're a decision they'd like in regard to 2x and not be held liable for not holding up their end of the bargain.
Okay, very interesting. That's some good points that you made. I never thought of it that way. Let's go on to the next subject here. The next meme. I think there's a meme, an article, a meme, and an article. And oh yeah, here it is. A prison that I was talking about. Now, did you have a chance, Brian, to extract the Bitcoin from this lockdown address, new time?
No, and I realize that it is now available for whoever wants to extract it. I have not been able to. In fact, speaking of treasure hunts, I think you have like 20 independent hunts going right now that have not been discovered.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. I'm a little surprised. Either people aren't watching the video, or they can't extract it. Anyways, I set up another wallet, a new time lock address, and just to test it. And I set it up for the same day, which is today, to be released. And I discovered that you do need a private key. So not only do you need the redeem script, but you also need the private key to send it. So you couldn't, even if you tried to, you couldn't send the Bitcoins out because I didn't provide the private key. But what surprised me was nobody left a comment saying, hey, where's the private key? I need the private key to send it out. So I'm actually going to try to do that tonight as a part of the live stream. And let's see if I can actually do that here. So let me see. So if you scan this QR code, it would have taken you to this address right here for the most part. And let me see here. Yeah, okay, so I set up 2. So it would have taken you to this address here to verify the verify page of Coinbin. And then that's the address here. And this is the required signature, which that's just the public address key. You need the private key. And so I'm going to try to show you how you can set that up. So the time is right here, which was, what was that, yesterday? or last night, or 12 a.m. in the morning, it would have been available to withdraw. But if you look here, if you try to sign it, it does require a private key, which I will display right now for anybody watching. I'll put show right here, and there it is. So it's right there. I showed it to you. But I'm going to actually send it to another new time lock address. So let's do this real quick here.
Are you faster than I am?
Well, if you're quicker, you can do it.
I'm not. You can cut and paste, and I have to type. I'm not even trying anyway.
Let's see here. I'll just do it real quick here. So you take the public key, and I'll show you the address key on this one, so you can pull it out for Wednesday when we get together again. And I'll keep doing this until I have to run out of money or someone actually extracts it before I send it out to the new lock address. Hopefully everyone got to saw that. So let's lock the address. Need the public key. Let's just do a date and time, which is next Wednesday. Wednesday. Well, let me see. Wednesday. Yeah. So 12 a.m. So as soon as it's Tuesday, 12 p.m. at night, which would be Wednesday, 12 p.m., it'll be available that night. And then we'll do our show. We'll submit it. And then there's that's the address we're going to send to. Starts with a 3. And then here is our new redeem script. All right, so now that I got that done, let's send this out. I'm going to send the old one out. Let me see here, transaction. All right, it's still there. What do you know? I'm going to send it to this address. I have to figure out I may have to play around with it. I have to figure out how many bytes this is. It's 125 bytes. So I'm going to put, is that 2,000? Nope. 5. We want to put 200 Satoshis as a fee. Let me resubmit that. Okay. And now we're going to sign it with the private key. This was the private key. Let's see if this works, if I can do it in real time. All right, signed transaction, just under 200 megabytes. I'm sorry, 200 bytes, not 200 megabytes. Let's broadcast it. I hope this works. I would really look stupid if it didn't work. All right, wish me luck. All right, we have a transaction. So next Wednesday, and let me, I'll show you the lock time address again here. Or the address, there you go. So there it is. And here's the private key. There it is. So next Wednesday, if you have the private key, and then also this right here, and I will put the link to verify this. I'll even verify this real quick. There it is. So there's the verification for it. So I'll put this in the link below. You probably have to see it after the live stream. I'll put that link below, and then that way you can go to it. Hopefully you'll see the private key. I'll show it one more time. Private key here. There it is. Private key right here. That way you can extract it next Wednesday. So good luck to you all.
What time zone does that use?
I'm on New York time. So it doesn't matter wherever time zone you are or whatever clock you set your time zone. Now, you know, what I'm wondering is if you set your clock forward fast enough, would you essentially beat the clock? Could you fool the system? I haven't tried that yet. I was thinking about that. Do you know what I'm talking about, Brian? So because I noticed
what it does to pull its date and time. If it pulls its date and time from the blockchain or from some central point other than your computer, then no.
I don't think it'll work. But I think it does pull its time from either the blockchain or the internet or something. Because I tried it on my smartphone, which is actually set an hour behind Central Time. So I'm actually in Las Vegas time on my smartphone until daylight savings times comes by. But it had a different time from my computer, which is actually set on New York time. So I guess it depends where you are, but I don't think it's set to your computer. I do think there's some kind of international time or blockchain time, or it derives its time from somewhere else. But maybe someone can exploit it and change the time of the whole world or on the blockchain just to grab my $5.
Well, I don't know. They haven't done some of the other ones yet, so they probably, that's not low enough hanging fruit. And I've taken most of the low hanging fruit.
Right. Well, you know, hopefully if the price goes up, like to 5,000 and beyond, like people are trying to say it is, maybe, or maybe 20 years later, someone will watch this video and they'll realize $1,000 of treasure hunts that no one's discovered, and now they'll try to crack the code.
Well, that'd be interesting. If I
So
haven't learned
here's
how to get those other ones by then, something's really wrong, though.
Well, it is a little harder, Brian, so I'm not leaving much of a clue. And I have to admit, it is harder. So the first ones you got, man, those were easy. If people didn't get those, they missed out. I don't know what to say.
And those were up for a while before I did them.
Yeah, I think most of them are gone now. I think whatever, if there are any left, I think most of them are gone. You took the real easy ones. After this, it's going to be really difficult, or harder, I should say. So this is what you sent me, Node Counter, the public service announcement. NodeCounter.com is of the opinion that the current Blockstream core Bitcoin development team is not taking satisfactory steps to ensure the growth and advancement of Bitcoin in accordance with Satoshi's original white paper. And so, what are your feelings on that? Do you really think that core, and a lot of people associate Blockstream and the core development team being one for some reason when that's not really the case? But what do you think they're trying to get at here, and what's their motivation?
Well, it's clearly stated there. They don't believe in the development team. Do they have an underlying reason other than that? Maybe. They seem to go on to really make a call to arms, to ask people to unsubscribe to one subreddit and subscribe to another, to start using Bitcoin Cash. I mean, they're really down on Bitcoin. Is that because they don't like the developers? Well, they say that. Or is that because they want to be on the other side, the side they think is going to win? I wonder if This is a sign of the possible acquiescing in which you asked about earlier.
What was that?
You asked if the previous was like a sign of people acquiescing to 2x. Well, this is a sign of the company acquiescing to 2x.
Right, right. You know, I think people's idea of what consensus is different than maybe what the development team, the core development team's idea of consensus, and the people who support the core developers. And so, you know, Bitcoin has no leader. There's no real structure either. It just seems to be this group of people with many different interests. If I could break it down, it would be miners. Then it's the developers, and then even within the developing community, there are subsets of different developers within that as well. And then you have the users, and I would break it down to two different types of users: commercial users or business users, and then the end user, which would be people who just hold Bitcoin and acquire Bitcoin like you and I. And between those four distinct groups, there's no communication. There's no like, you know, how can I say, there's no union there. We're all just individually, autonomously making our own decisions for ourselves. And so it's becoming like, a left wing and a right wing. You're seeing some kind of separation between the beliefs and how Bitcoin should be run. I'm wondering if this is natural, because if you look at everything else, when a group becomes so big, it naturally just splits off and just does its own thing.
Yeah, and sometimes that group does its own thing, and sometimes that group includes as its own thing defeating and crushing from whence it came, or all competition. They
Yeah,
don't.
yeah,
They're not planning a friendly situation. Everyone is talking like we're out to crush Bitcoin. If you listen to the words that have been used in these articles we've discussed, they they're at war. They are going to position themselves to become the dominant chain at all costs. That's their plan, and you can hear it in the rhetoric.
yes, yes. This is the problem that I've been kind of saying when you advocate for hard forking or contentious hard fork, or even splitting and dividing, that you're somewhat advocating for war. And maybe we don't have a choice in this matter, that a war will finally settle this dispute, because there's no court system, there's no governance in Bitcoin. We can't go to some group of people, or we can't arbitrate our differences through some kind of court system or any mediation. There's no governance in that whatsoever. And so the only left resolution, in my opinion, is that we're going to have to split, and then we're going to have to fight each other. Now, I'm just an end user, so all I have to do, the end user may have the least amount of risk involved, because eventually I'm just going to get both coins on the chain. Now, I could just do nothing, and I could still be the winner. So being the end user, there's not much we can do. I mean, the most we can do is maybe dump one coin for the other, be more vocal, write videos, write articles, mediums, blog about it, whatever, do memes. But at the end of the day, the people at most risk are the miners, because they put a lot of money and they want things done a certain way. The businesses, they have also put a lot of money, and they may actually lose money if things don't go their way. And they have to be very careful, because I see them playing both sides. And then you have the core development team, which they may not even be core, they may not be developing Bitcoin anymore. if things go the wrong way for them. So there's some interesting dynamics here that I think people just aren't seeing. They're just no 2x and yes 2x, yes 2x, and then maybe 2x. But there's a lot of dynamics here and moving parts, and I think it's going to get really ugly. I mean, there's already what I would consider a very harsh division in the community. And I don't know what's going to happen to the loser, but I'm pretty sure the losers are going to have to lose a lot of money or concede. And I don't see people conceding because they're willing to take things all the way to November in order to resolve all this disputing.
Well, we're going to hear more rhetoric. Hopefully, we'll hear more from both sides. I've heard they have a replay protection implementation scheme over there on the hard fork 2x side. I know you did a video about it. It sounds rather ridiculous that I'm going to move all my coins somewhere and then make as part of that transaction, a little deposit into this Bitcoin address along with everybody else who does it, and that will protect me from replay. Now, again, I don't understand how those things work on the programming level, but it seems absurd that somehow that's going to protect me. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. I think it's an address that's set up after the hard fork, and it's an opt-in. So in order to do that, you have to split your payments. You have to just send an address, send some of your Bitcoin to that address, and then have it returned back to you. And there may be a way of doing that, splitting your payments. I think you can do that with Coinbit. Let me see here. Let's see, like, for example, I think in the transactions, you can multiple payments out. You just have to figure out the transaction fee for the total amount of bytes that it takes. And you could have one go out, very small amount go out on this one, and then have the rest of it returned to your address on the second one. So this may be a tool. This is also a sender as well as a wallet generator. So you can, and what I like about it is you could set the fees. I probably only spent about 1 or 2 cents sending this transaction. You see here, this transaction out. I probably only sent one. Let me see if I want to check if it actually went. Oops. I want to check if it actually went through. Let's see here. Okay, it did go through, and I sent. It took. It's 1 penny. The fee was 1 penny. 1 Satoshi per byte. Yeah. I tried this earlier before, and if I didn't put enough fees on it, it did give me a transaction number, but it didn't send it through because I looked on it on the blockchain. It didn't show up, so I got to put enough I have to put enough fee on it to push it through. But there it is. And so essentially, it did work. Good. So yeah, let's go on to the next thing here. Let's see what the next meme is they have here. Oh gosh, the plugin for BitConnect, of course. How can I not forget? What do you think about BitConnect? Is it on its last legs? I mean, I see a lot of people talking how they're going on to a new Ponzi scheme because BitConnect's overdone and they can't extract any more wealth out of all the fools out there.
Oh man, that's what happens, right? Like you gotta pump hard and get out at the right time. These guys are smart moving on because there's probably not a lot of time left in this one.
Yeah, is that the first sign when you see people who were in BitConnect all of a sudden abandon BitConnect and jump onto another pyramid scheme?
I guess it really depends on how high up the food chain they were, I guess you could say, when they started. If they go on to something else, it's probably because it's new. And, you know, just because something is a Ponzi does not mean that you can't make money off of it. You have to be an extremely early investor to get your return plus some on top of it. But there's a very short period of time in the beginning in which that happens, and afterward, you don't reach your return.
Yeah, well, either way, that's not a good sign when you get people leaving the best scam that you could ever make money off of to join another scam, especially if wherever level you are on the food chain, especially if you're on the bottom. If the bottom people start leaving, then you'll never be able to grow that pyramid or grow that Ponzi. It's probably going to start collapsing on itself. But if you are involved in BitConnect, use me as a sponsor. 2retarded is my username. And on the left side there with the QR code, Yellow Fever has a very nice description on what BitConnect is, just to let you know. So there's my little quick plug-in. That was a little fun. How is Ken this days? Did you see his live stream?
I saw part of it. I didn't get to see all of it. You know, his first time behind the wheel again. It seemed like he was a little nervous. He said so, but you know, it's good to have him back in this space, and we'll see what he does, and hopefully he'll reach out and want to be on the show as well. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and if anybody's sick of just hearing me talk with James, suggest a guest, or if you want to be on the show, reach out to me and let me know.
Yeah, Brian's email's in the notes section, so go ahead and contact him, and we'll get you on this show. So we always have fun with our guest on this show. So whoever you are, please come on. I'm sure we'll have fun. Let's go on to the next one here. I think it's an article here. Yes, this is the Medium post. John, is it Blocky or Blokey? This is dated November 14th, 2016. It's kind of long. It says 17-minute read, but I can't read that fast and try to understand what I'm reading. But this is the Medium post that was the link into the public service announcement of was it Node Counter? A brief and incomplete history of censorship in our Bitcoin. Are you a member of
Yeah, I'm on
Reddit?
Reddit, and I did not read this article, first of all, but
Okay, no problem. I briefly read through it, not all, but it was kind of long for me to read. I know you sent it to me about half an hour before we went live, and I was doing all these other things, but I tried to read most of it. I just want to bring it up as a subject matter to generally talk about. Censorship on our Bitcoin. Is it censorship or moderation?
well, I'm uncertain about our Bitcoin, but I know there are a lot of subs that the moderators um, do censor things, not just moderate according to the rules, but rather censor information. There's a lot of manipulation on Reddit and all of the other social medias. Um, there are a lot of companies out there, especially overseas, that will provide you all kinds of upvotes and comments and likes and views and whatever you need for whichever social media you're on. And I think after a while there are mods that are either in with the goal of paid goal or non-paid goal of censoring certain things, or there are well, people who can buy their way in. You know, people sell their accounts too, and then the social media itself isn't just manipulated by Well, it's manipulated by a lot of people. So if it happens in our Bitcoin, it's not surprising. Or not.
Okay. But do you think our Bitcoin or Reddit is a place to have a debate? Because it doesn't seem like a very good place to have a debate, considering there's all these other outlets. There's Medium, there's YouTube, there's paid advertisements. You know, you can start your own web page. Roger Ver is probably the most vocal about censorship. I mean, you could also even start your own subreddit, right? Which there is. It's called RBTC, I think. And so, what's the issue here? If you don't, if there's a forum or a subreddit that doesn't want you to post there, just go post somewhere else or create your own subreddit or create your own forum. How is it censorship? It's like it's like saying, hey, you come to my house and I tell you to shut up and leave. Am I censoring you?
Well, again, it depends on what was said, why they were censored, you know, what topics. I don't know. It's all speculation. But within reason, the moderators can remove posts that don't conform with their rules. And you have a sidebar, it lays out all the rules, and if it does not conform with Reddit standards or the subreddit standards, then it can be removed without any problems. And then sometimes politics does get into choices, but as long as it's within reason, the moderators aren't censoring. It's hard to talk about this objectively since I haven't read what are the claims of censorship in our Bitcoin.
I know. I, well, I go on on the Reddit just to read stuff. I'm not signed up. But I just think the whole thing where if you're trying to debate or make a point, is it a good idea to go someplace where maybe you're not welcome and start shouting in those places? Wouldn't it be better if you just started your own forum or your own post or your own website and make your case that way? Start your own YouTube channel instead of, like, you know, going on to someone else's YouTube channel and leaving like messages that maybe they don't like, which, by the way, YouTube allows you to moderate those things, or even straight out take out. So, you know, this argument that somehow censorship is being done on our Bitcoin, I've been hearing about this for like 2 or 3 years, almost 4 years now. And what I can tell is, you know, if you go to our Bitcoin and they are, if you know who Thamos is, he also runs Bitcoin.org, and he seems pretty obvious to be a Bitcoin developer supporter. It's kind of foolish for me to go in there and start advocating for bigger blocks or talk about altcoins. And it's not a good strategy to do that because obviously your posts are going to be removed. And who are they trying to get at? You know, they're trying to get at people who like the way things are, and they're trying to convert people who probably aren't going to be converted. Instead of doing that, what I'm trying to say is just go out there, make your case in other forums. If you have anything there, people will find it, hopefully. And I want to say, like, Explicit is in the chat. He asked what he can do to help to get the word out. Well, you can share, right? You can share to the YouTube channel. You can, you know, share on your Facebook. Sharing really helps, and that is more organic than posting on someplace and hoping that people find you somehow. So if you're able to share and your friends and your followers are able to see it and they're able to follow or they're able to share, then you got a natural, organic, I guess, meme kind of go on. I guess if you call that a meme or definition of a meme, you got ideas spreading out naturally, organically, instead of trying to force your ideas onto a forum post or subreddit that doesn't want to hear it from you. So I think that's more powerful than going on someplace where nobody wants to hear it from you. So what's the big complaint?
Well, that's very good, James. You're right. It's beneficial when the information is spread organically. Um, Last Wednesday, I think it was, there was a good article, the one is not to be named, that we went through, that talked about the unspent transaction being the real problem. That's a good article for people to understand, to know that the problem that we're facing is not what's being told to us. Spreading some of your memes would help, right? Letting people hear discussions, because I'm sure viewers of your show watch other Bitcoin videos, and if they find other videos that discuss in length um, the problems that are being faced, then they should share those as well. It doesn't matter who the messenger is, it's the message that we need to get out. And if everyone bears it, it disseminates quicker and yeah, organically.
Well, I have explicit in the chat who asked if I'm for or against SegWit 2x. Apparently, yes, hashtag yes 2x brought him here, which is kind of interesting. I guess you could say it's a trap. Sorry if I trapped you. I'm pretty sensible. I am actually not a supporter of SegWit 2x. I'm not in favor of quote unquote larger block size. Mainly because I hope to run my own node when the Lightning node, the Lightning network comes online, because I wish to participate in that. I don't right now, but from what I could tell, or from my standpoint, users should come first, always, in this particular community when it comes to cryptocurrency, when it comes to Bitcoin, and then also to any open source project. Users should be the first thing that comes first. And the developers should always keep that in mind. And as long as the users are here, and this is interesting because normally open source projects don't make money. They don't really make great money. But because the way Bitcoin, the way it is, and the value that it's garnered or created, there's a lot of people who have a vested interest and they want to make money. And I think they're here to take over for that purpose only. And you could see how people have changed their stance over time as the value of Bitcoin has gone up. You know, these were once very angry people who wanted to change the world. Now they're very rich people and would like to have more control of how to become richer. And so that's just my stance. The whole part of this meme is to make fun of hashtag yes2x, not really supporter. This is another one way I have fun. I make memes like this. Crypto H Wallet, the crypto hardware wallet superstore, where you could buy overpriced USB sticks. If you use the promo code hashtag yes2x, you'll get a free leather wallet, or I should say a free leather case for your paper wallets, which are free, doesn't cost a thing. Okay, so this is the kind of joke I put out there. So no, I'm not a supporter of SegWit 2x. I like the block size to be small so that I can either mine, hopefully one day, or run a node, because I do anticipate in the future of participating in the Lightning Network. But I know Lightning Network is light years away. So unless we get more people on board, unite the community to make, how can I say, create more tools for the users like me to use, you know, that's going to be hard when there's a divided community. I'm hoping that November will end the division once and for all. and it'll set a precedent to see what happens when you do hard fork. And it's always been unknown whether hard forking is good or bad. But I think we're going to find out that it's not. I think for Bitcoin, it's not good because when you hard fork and you have no replay protection, and one chain has to survive or die, or they both survive, it just divides the community, and there's always going to be some friction between the two communities, and it's not going to, in my opinion, it's not conducive to innovation. It may be competition, but innovation, I don't know. There's too much politics, too much fighting. We're wasting our time and energy when you could be doing something that allows me to be creative, allows me to use the tools that would empower me. If it empowers me, then it empowers Brian, it empowers everybody else. That's just my opinion, though. Let me see here. Is that any more memes or articles we have to go through? Or are we back to full circle? I think we're back to full circle.
Yes.
Any closing statements or thoughts?
Forking doesn't look too appealing when you see this meme. Let that sink in.
But forking is so cool. That's the coolest thing these days. Everybody's doing it. Look at this guy. He has tongue split, drooling. That's not what you really imagine. Oh, by the way, the QR code on the left is a video of someone doing split tongue tricks, just in case if you're interested. So there may be something to forking or splitting your tongue yet. And on the right, the QR code is how many days, estimated days. Matter of fact, let me scan it. I think it's 40 days estimated, but I like to see the block that it's on. Let me see if I could find that here. I'm going to scan that thing right now and find out. Let's see here. So when you scan it with the regular barcode scanner or QR scanner, it should take you to a website. Use any browser you want. And it takes you to Crypto Daily. Activation, SegWit 2x activation countdown timer. It says something's wrong with the website now. Let me refresh it. It says work queue depth exceeded code. It doesn't even give you the time anymore. Oh my goodness. Maybe it's me.
Maybe the agreement's all falling apart.
I think so. Every day I do these, it's like something is not working when it comes to SegWit 2x. People are abandoning SHIB. Other companies are capitulating, and now they're offering SegWit addresses on their platform. They're saying they're going to support both chains. They're not going to support one or the other.
And they don't have to. At least by my analysis earlier.
Well, here's the thing is, somebody is going to try really hard because, you know, they've made this commitment to do this. They spent a lot of money doing it. They've publicly announced it. It would, you know, it really looks really, really foolish of them to back out now after everything is said and done. Although everyone's been quiet, though. That's the scary part. Yep, work queue depth exceeded code. I'm not getting anything. But let me see what block we're at. Well, I don't even know what block we're at. But the block that in which they're going to plan on forking is block number 494784. I think I don't know what block we're on. The last time I checked, it was about 40 days. So middle of November.
Well, we heard something today from one of the signers of the agreement, which was we fulfilled the other part of our bargain. We adopted SegWit. But you're right. Unlike lines in the sand that have been drawn before on this topic, right now it's a real line. They put all their chips on the table, and they're going to fight. This is going to be a war, and they're going to do whatever they have to do to ensure that their chain survives and is considered Bitcoin from then on.
Good point, Brian. Good point. Well, I wish everyone the best of luck. I hope you, you know, as an end user, all you have to do is just hodl and wait it out. Either a couple scenarios, the chain is going to die, one chain or the other is going to die. Well, the best scenario is nothing happens. Like SegWit 2x, literally they just call it off. Nothing happens. We don't have to worry about this. The market will not be confused. The price can continue to go up. I think we're at 4,600 last time I checked. If I was to look at the price as an indicator, I would say people are starting to feel maybe a little bit more confident about how this whole thing is going to turn out. Maybe they're buying in because they think they're going to get 2 coins and get some free money, and that's why you see the bump in the price. But for me to have real confidence, I think the price has to go above 5,000. And only then I'm going to feel good about this whole situation. That would tell me maybe the SegWit 2x is not going to go through and the price is going back on its original trend of a higher price. So that's something I'm going to be watching. But either it's not going to go through, it is going to go through, and we're going to have 2 chains, and hopefully everyone will have their coins in safely. And then third option is one or the other chain is going to die. So all these could happen. You know, don't take this very lightly. I think we're almost at the end of the show, maybe a little bit more. Do you have any closing words, or was that your closing words?
That's pretty much it. 2 chains. That's interesting. But I prefer one chain, the original chain. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right, Brian. I guess this concludes this episode. Feel free to like, dislike, leave a comment, or even do a video response. Until next time, everyone, stay tuned. Bye-bye. Let me see if I can get out of here.